We have about over 10,000 books so you can click here, you'll get the books. Over 10,000 books, many out of copyright, so that's from Gutenberg, the Gutenberg project, so that's the majority. Some very famous ones in there, some quite obscure ones as well. We also have a few others in here that are classics in different languages, and all of these books are in 10 languages. We have Don Quixote in Spanish, for example. There's Crime and Punishment, both in the original Russian and in an English translation. So you can play around with all these things. And we have the 7 Harry Potter books, and then all together. So these are things to explore. Now the viewer, so let's perhaps choose Prisoner of Azkaban. So the viewer, what we have is a time series of the emotional content for each individual book. So we're running a slider through the book and taking groups of 10,000 words and scoring them. Now you can change, then you can, so we see, all right, so there's a peak here, that's the happiest point. There's an average for the whole book, and the least happy point is here. So that's shown for each book. You also get these little reference and comparison sliders. So let's find out why, at least by this measure that we have, there's such a dip here in positivity. So this is quite low on our score. And so if you know the book, then you'll understand that some bad things are happening here. So you can look at the negative words that are being used more often. So there's kill and killed and betrayed and mad and bleeding. So Scabbers the rat is found out to be Peter Pettigrew, and things have all fallen apart. There are some more positive words being used here. Friends and helping in parents and father. And if we then say compare the end of the book, which has this big climb, not really true of many books in general from what we've seen. The Count of Monte Cristo, for example, has this kind of ending as well. So Harry finds out that Sirius Black is in fact his godfather, so there was a lot of positivity in his life suddenly. So you see dad and father, and chocolate is there because you have to eat chocolate after some dark magic. You should just eat chocolate in general. So lots of positive words are being used relatively. And so you can look through these. You'll see some, in some examples for all of our wordships, things will certainly not make sense, or you'll find a word that you think could be being used in a funny way. But the general texture of this shows you that things are working. Again, we have a lens feature, which we'll describe separately. And each book has a little catalog card down the bottom. So once again, the view that you see here can be shared. So if you either copy the URL, or if we do provide a Twitter or a sharing feature, it should be taken into that view. So yes, so this will be, so if we open that up again, we copy it and open up again, the whole view is reconstituted, particularly your reference and comparison pieces. So this is very important because these can be very detailed and very specific and hard to rebuild by just explaining in words. So that's been a very useful thing for us, and we hope you have fun playing around with it. There are also, if we look at, let's find, so we can choose one that's not in English. So of course this is a long book, so it's taking a little while to load. So the words are in Spanish. You can translate all of them into English if you want, and that works somewhat okay. You can see there are many ups and downs here. You can translate individual words at a time by clicking on them, so that is another feature. Right, lots of things to play around with. So you can see, for example, that science shows that Frankenstein ends badly. So if you look at the comparison text here, which I'll make a little smaller, yeah, miserable enemy, dead despair. So it's a pretty bad story here, and a lot of positive words have disappeared as well. So life and father and mother. And finally, we have a search facility here, so you can look for Shakespeare. So these are all books about Shakespeare. You can look for the author as well. Right, so by William Shakespeare, and play around with these things. All right. So yeah, we typically need books to be of a decent length, so we can get out a time series. So some that are a bit smaller, you'll see this kind of narrowing of the structure. But so lots of things to play around with. As I said, 10,000 books. So enjoy yourself.